And we are live. Hello and welcome to another edition of Tordecore Gutenberg edition. Today we are going to take a look at a real-world example of converting a Beaver Builder module to a Gutenberg block. So last time, to recap, we talked about what Gutenberg is, what Gutenberg blocks are, and how to use them. We started with a very simple, basic, block that we feature right here onto the end of the post. So just to go back to it and refresh real quick, we built a block that has a customizable message and color as a background. So that's very simple, that's very cool, but this is not necessarily what you're going to use in your more complex projects. I mean, you're definitely going to use that too, but we should take a look and see what we're going to be facing with something like when we want to replace Beaver Builder modules with Gutenberg blocks. And that's what today's session is going to be about. Again, I haven't done any research prior to this, besides knowing a little bit from reading on Twitter and stuff like that. So it's gonna be fun trying to figure it out. So the first thing I'm thinking about is to see what's the difference between static and dynamic blocks in Gutenberg, how we can have dynamic blocks, how they are created, do we only use the REST API for them, how does it work, right? So let's go back to our, from the links from our previous, from the previous part, we'll find the Gutenberg Handbook and we'll look about what they have in terms of creating dynamic blocks. Hey, look at that, there's a whole page dedicated to it. Good, it's possible to create dynamic blocks, that's a good thing. Their content even if the post is not safe, excellent. For example, post itself as the latest post block, no update everywhere. It's used when a new post is published. Okay, let's create the latest post block dynamic block. Okay. I don't know which version to look at yet. Oh, I guess this one. Okay. So we are getting the WordPress element, registered block type with API from the OP components. Okay, that's good. We register the block as usual. This is a different part. Our edit now is now with API data. Oh, and look at this part. Rendering in PHP. Huh. Okay, I like that. So needs a server component, then can get it using the render callback property when using the register block type function. Huh. Okay, so that's interesting. So this looks very familiar to shortcodes so far, except for with a fancy UI part on them added on. Okay. So edit with API data, which returns an object which has posts, and then a REST API path with some query parameters. Okay. Oh, it's a lot of parentheses here. Okay, here I'm a little old-fashioned. Function, props, post data. Oh, okay, I see what's happening. So in this object, so with API data, we give it an object and the property of that object is how we're going to access information from the REST API, and then the value is the REST API URL that we want to load from. And if that property if props our custom property right here doesn't have data, then we're still loading. Okay, cool. Then we can work. Then we can work with this as if it's a normal thing. Okay, so that's pretty cool. And then we just return whatever we want to return. Okay, now on the PHP side, get me some posts. One post status publish. Pretty much we do the same thing on the PHP side. That's a little bit of a bummer that we have to repeat the same stuff on the PHP side and JavaScript side, but it makes sense because if we only did it in JavaScript, then our content would not be visible to most search engines, if any. Not sure. Okay. And then we'll just register a block type with some parameters. In this case, we're using render callback. Okay, things to notice. Edit function still shows the representation of the block in the editor's context. Right, so we can display something. We can display our block one-to-one as what it's going to be on the front end, or completely different. It's up to us. Okay. Save function just returns null because the rendering is done on the server side. Yep. Rendering is a function taking the block attribute as an argument and returning the markup. Quite similar to shortcodes. Yes, yes indeed. Okay, so I think this is gonna be actually much easier than I anticipated. So that's cool. For my real world example, I wanted to take a look at something that we have done with a Beaver Builder module on our site. So if we take a look at our site right here, down at our team, this whole thing is one block, one module in Beaver Builder. So the whole row with all these are rendered from a single Beaver Builder module. And these come from a custom post type on the back end, and we have some data associated with each team member, like the name, the position, short bio, and a bunch of contact details and stuff like that. Okay, we could do this. Let me just find things real quick. Okay, so I'm going to update. Okay. So I'm going to get the code for our theme real quick, and I think we'll just work off of my local copy. Yes, it's on HTTPS. Really? Sorry for the delay here. I could have done that. I should have done that before the stream, but as usual, work had to be done. Come on. Okay. 0 replacements. Interesting. Come on. Yeah, I guess it's not gonna let me do this. No, okay. Well, I guess we're not going to do that, and instead we're going to just make a simple custom post type that we're going to post stuff from. That's unfortunate. I did want to do an actual module. Yeah. There we go. Okay, so I guess what we can do in this case is the following. Let's bring our code over here. Oh, there. Okay, so we already have this. Can activate the plugin. And another thing we can do is just copy over okay. I guess I don't need all of this information. I guess I don't need any of that information. Okay, I'm going to sync up those fields real quick. Get rid of the stuff that we don't need. For that, I actually need to do something real quick right here. Ah, too many things open. Okay. We'll just cheat a little bit here. And do this real quick. Nothing fun. Really. Nostalgia. Okay, in the meantime, I can do a little bit of research on some other stuff, I guess. Okay. Anyway, let's forget about that. Not going to do this approach. Let's just pull the recent posts. That seems simple enough. Not gonna be quite a real world example, but I'm not quite ready with the example I wanted to show. Okay, so let's get rid of this, and I guess what we're going to have to do is create a new block, obviously. So JSX hello world block. We want to start running our watch React task and npm, and we're going to create a new file here and recent posts block JSX. Okay, I like to be lazy and just copy from what I have already done and work from there. So in this case, hello world is not going to be hello world anymore. We'll just change it to TBC recent posts, for example. Oh, something I promised to show last time that I haven't shown yet is how to avoid dealing with this stuff. So how do we do that? Because when you're creating classes in this fashion, none of your functions are bound to the instance, to your instance. So that's why we had to do this update content equals this update content bind this. In order to avoid this, what I found while working with React was the following. I'm going to find it real quick. It's in one of my previous projects. So TBC component extends just component, and then we do Ignore methods. Okay, so I'm going to create another file, and it's gonna be tdc base JSX, and in there again we're going to have this stuff as before. We're not using jQuery, nope. Okay, we do want to call our function though, and so we just do something like this. So class tdc component extends our component class, and in the constructor we call the components constructor, and then we get the properties of our prototype class, so the prototype of our current instance, and then we define a bunch of ignored methods that we don't want to bind because they're usually already bound or we don't need them to be bound, and then we just go through each of the properties, and if it's not one of the ignored methods or if it's not a function, then we keep going, otherwise we bind it to this, really, not instance. And so how we use this, and now we just have to define window tdc component equals tdc component. We save this, and now we're no longer going to need to import the component from the op.element. Instead we're just going to extend tdc component. Well, this is not going to work obviously because we're not enqueuing tdc base JSX, but we are going to enqueue block editor assets. I bet that if we scripts with priority of 1 register admin scripts, this will most likely work. We'll see. So what I want to do is I want to register my base script. So tdc base message.js tdc base. I want it to depend on the OP blocks and the OP element, and then we are also going to register our hello world block, and that will only depend on tdc base now, because tdc base already depends on the other scripts that we need. Now I should be able to do just this and hopefully it will work. Let's see what happens. Are we gonna get an error from an expected identifier? Where's that? tdc base from the runtime. Really? Get own property names. This should be just this shouldn't need to be imported. This already exists. Huh. Is this supported in all browsers? Yeah. Okay. So Beaver. Are we using Beaver polyfill? Probably. No. Import object get on property names from get on property names. Huh. I don't need it to be doing this stuff though. Transform runtime. What if we get rid of this? Okay, that seems to fix it. I wonder if that's gonna break something else. Nope, that's still good. Huh. Interesting. Okay, that's fine. So now we should no longer have to do this stuff, and we can just get on with our lives and not have to think about all of the methods that we need to bind in the constructor. So that's something nice. We have a console log. There's our console log. Okay. That didn't get rid of it. Interesting. Cache, maybe? Perhaps? No. Lower block. It is not there anymore. Network. We have cache disabled. Oh. Right. I probably... Yeah, if I was editing the right file, that would have been good. Okay. No wonder it didn't break at all. Lower block. Extends this. We no longer need that. And we can get rid of this console log. Is it gonna break now? No, still good. Okay, and we can actually get rid of this stuff from over here as well. Okay, cool. That's good. Okay. And by the way, if anyone's watching, you can post comments in the chat, and I'll maybe see them at some point. Feel free to engage in some way. Okay, so now back to our actual recent post block. Render, edit. Right, so we need to define this with go back. So we want with API data, which comes from the OP components. Okay. So we want to add this to the OP components, which will give us with API data. And we call this stuff. And we can call it here. Should we call it here? I feel like we should call it around the class. What if we do something like that? I feel like that would work. And then we pass our parameter, perhaps. Call me old-fashioned, I like to write my stuff like that. So we go like this with API data, we pass our component, and then it will just accept the updated component. And then in our render function, we are going to check. Well, let's just console log so we can see what we got here. Yes, and we take this and props posts, right? Props posts and props posts data. Okay, I guess we are going to have to add to our post actually. So let's go to the post, edit. Oh, as a matter of fact, first we have to actually enqueue our recent post block. So register script Gutenberg recent posts block, and this is recent posts block. Again, it depends on TDC base only. Okay, and in here we have to change, this should not be hello world, this should be TDC recent posts, and in here we call it recent posts step 2. And we source our favorite page that shows us all the dash icons, and we pick something appropriate. Sure, this one, more or less, except for we just do admin page. Okay, attributes, content, and color. I guess we don't have any attributes in this case. We could have attributes, but for right now we'll just ignore them. So we'll just do no attributes for the time being. Category layout. Blocks, common blocks, formatting, layout, widgets. I guess let's call them. I did see recently where we can another good resource was Gutenberg tip of the day. Let's see if we can find it. Yep, beginner's tip of the day 16. It's her. Okay. CSS. Yeah, so Zach Gordon has very good tips. You can follow him on Twitter, and he posts new stuff every day. And those are little bite-sized chunks of information that you can read every day and update yourself on Gutenberg. Gutenberg theme, Gutenberg Handbook, keyword setting. Yeah, 5 categories of work: common, formatting, layout, widgets, and embed. Huh. I guess we'll stick with common for right now. And we can deal with this later. Save, like we said, this just returns no, which is kind of cool. Return no. Okay, and let's reload this page, and we should have our next block available now. Hello world, step 1, blocks, common blocks, or maybe not. Okay, recent posts, nope. Is our script even there? I guess not. Huh. Oh. Because we need to actually enqueue our script. There we go, that's better. And so we have a new one, blocks, recent post, step 2. Okay. Scatter cannot be previewed. Yay. Okay, data. Props is not defined. Okay. Props. Right. Okay. Yep. So this props post data. Let's reload the page, and then we'll have to add that block again. So recent post step 2. Okay. Didn't break this time. And undefined, and here we have a collection of posts. That's pretty cool. Well, it's just an array. I wonder if there's any way to get the actual I wonder if there's any way to get the actual collections and models instead of just getting an array of objects. Probably there is. We'll see. Okay, well, anyway, so now what we can do is we can, whatever the word for this was called, and we want to get the posts for right now. This props expand, maybe, not 100% sure. I don't know the words around the new JavaScript stuff yet. Okay, we can define a block description, yada yada yada. We want Gutenberg. Okay. I don't even think we need this here. We could just have this right in here. Paragraph, and to fetch the most sample. This will display some posts for you. Okay, and for right now we don't need any of these controls, so we'll just get rid of them. And so if we don't have, oh, silly me, it does give me the data get. Okay, let's store this as global variable. Did I click that? I clicked that. Okay, there we go. Temp1 get 0 undefined. Path prototype. Create. Okay. Not sure. Post data. And their example is just return a string of loading. Okay, we can do that. Loading. And obviously you can make this prettier. You can put like a little spinning icon or something, but it's the most basic usage of it basically. Let's update so that we can save our block. Oops. Block style is not defined. Right. Yes, well, because we don't need block style. Content. Will show up here. There we go. Okay. Sweet. And on the here on the right, we'll see some posts for you. Yep. Cool stuff. Okay. And if you excuse me, I'll be back in 2 minutes. And we're back. So, what stuff can we do with this? Obviously, we are fetching some information from the REST API via this with API data function. That's pretty cool. But what I'm trying to think is how can we adjust this so that we can fetch dynamic data. So say we don't want the latest post, but instead we want to let the user pick what kind of information they're going to get. Let's see if we can find some information on with API data. Attributes. Let's see about this. What we can find: dynamic blocks, create with API data, high order component for managing API data. Okay, so we found this post that links to the pull request. Okay. Simple interface for fetching, creating, updating, or deleting data from the REST API. That's good. Auto fetching when your component mounts. using cache data if request has already been made. That's pretty sweet. Provide status updates so you can render accordingly. Trigger creation updates or deletes on data. Type post props. Oh, what? Interesting. Okay, so we have access to the props here. Huh. That's interesting. Similar to in some case completes react disconnect function. Props should pass from the parent component or compose from another higher root component. An object of prop name endpoint result. See the shaping of an object, number of properties. Some expression from. Okay. Okay, that's pretty cool. What if we search the repository for with API data to see whether they have any documentation on that? Nothing on wikis, some stuff in the issues, some work with custom endpoints. That would be sad. Okay. Allow custom endpoints. Okay. So from what I'm getting, this function actually receives our props and interesting. Is that gonna be called every time we update it? Let's see. Interesting. So it does closure. Oops. Okay, that's pretty sweet. Yeah, so we get our attributes. Nice. Type, taxonomy. Okay. I'm not really sure what these are used for. They seem to be using them. Huh. Okay, what about the type pages? Oh, okay. So it gives us the path, the REST API path for the post type based on based on the ID of the post type. So for page, the page post type, that's pages. For the post type, that's posts. Okay, pretty sweet. So what we can do with this is we can do what they're doing and just span this like that. Pretty sure that's not the correct term. Maybe somebody will correct me, I don't know. And here we're just going to, yes, we're not using templates, I know. Type of, we have a default, maybe. That's something I want to look into. Do we have default attributes? So post type, type a string, block API, attributes. Oh, look at this. That's useful. That's very useful. Okay. Attributes, structured data, source attribute, C attributes. Okay. Wow. Okay, there's a whole lot of documentation that I haven't explored yet. What I want to see is whether we have default values. Maybe we don't, maybe we do. The value of an attribute from markup, use text to extract inner text from markup. HTML, children, query. Meta. Ooh. Sweet. Choose first specifies corresponding meta key. This is how we get post meta to go to our block. Nice. Can be read and written by a block using the same interface as any attribute. Nice. Set attributes. Sweet. No subjects meta. Wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. Type when setting attributes as a framework or typecasting of meta. So on the post remaining 30 even after saving. Okay. Cool. This still didn't answer the question about whether or not we can have a default value. Inner text of location element. Okay, so we have some issue. Default 0. Closed by this one. Okay, so I guess if we just pass the default key, maybe it'll work. Let's see. The default will be let's say post. Okay. We don't want the core, and so now when we are rendering stuff, we are going to want some more things here. Text control, and there'll be blocks, inspector controls, select control. Okay. We want a select control in here. Let's see what we had. Need this in our hello world block. Text control, label. Okay, perhaps we can just have a label. I have a feeling that select control might take a list of attributes, maybe. Value label options. Okay. Select control, options. Okay, so options is just another property. Okay, that's cool. Select control, label, options. So our label will be post type, and value will be again, I have to steal some of the stuff. Attributes, and then I want to extract post type from our attributes. Value is post type, and options will be an array of objects like this. And I guess we can just define that here, really. Post type options as an array of objects. Posts, value post, and pages, value page. And I'm sure we can also get this information in a dynamic way, and we can look into this later on. Right now, let's just leave this option fixed. And our options here will be post type options, and what other information they're passing on change. It's fine. On chain. This on post change, and we'll we just update the post type. And let's see, type from props post type. Oh, sorry, props attributes post type. And over here, right, attributes empty object. Yep, post type per page one. Yeah, so let's just say we're showing the latest post from that post type right now. Okay, and let's save and see if things are still working. And so I guess in here we can show the title of our latest post or page. So this would be posts data 0 . If we don't have any posts, then our content will be simply no posts from the post type. Otherwise, it will be just our latest post data 0. We just get the creating dynamic blocks, post title rendered. Okay. Post data 0, post title rendered. And we can just use our content right here. Okay, that should do the trick. And we can refresh the page and see what is going on here. Today's agenda, nothing in our block, which is a little weird. Recent posts, step 2. Where did our block go? No. Content. Okay, let's try and find our block and where it disappeared. Okay, or we can just do this so that we can see it while we're trying to figure out where it went. Testing today's agenda. Oh, I was looking at it. Obviously, this is our block. This is our most recent post. Okay, strong. And let's do like this, most recent post, and here we can just do strong like so. Oops. Has to be just post type. Okay. Now the trick, post type. Okay. And do we have any pages right now? I think there's one page, simple page. Okay. And so when we select our block and change this to pages, it works. How cool is that? Nice. Sweet. Okay, and so here we go. We have our really basic block that pulls stuff from the API and shows it on the editor. However, we still have the PHP side of things, because if we update this now and look at our post, we'll see nothing where our block is supposed to be. And that's not nice. Yeah, nothing here, as you can see, just the heading, nothing else. So we need to add this stuff as well. Register block type, block PHP. Okay, another block latest post. When do we call this function though? Register block type. Now that I'm not 100% sure, and I bet this has already been described somewhere. Block API. I didn't save blocks. Writing your first block type. Including block scripts. Send the block. extensibility, creating blocks, extending the editor's UI. Interesting. Meta boxes. No. Testing overview. Nope, pretty sure that's not it. Okay, do we have more information? Toolbars and inspector. Dynamic blocks, your first block type, block API. What about in here? Registration test. Okay, we can read for the test if it's going to give us the information we need. Test register affects main registry. Register block type. We're done. Corporate work. Okay, that's not helpful. Blocks library block index PHP. Renders the core block on the server. Register block type. But when do we call register block type? Blocks. Getting started. Yes, so as we say, we'll publish content. Yes, that's not very useful right now. Gutenberg PHP. Oops. The menu. Lib load. Shows Gutenberg editor. Gutenberg init. Editor. Yeah, not super helpful. Load. Oh, blocks. This thing right here. Register block type. Yes, so this is the stuff that I. When is that loaded? Okay, so this registers the blocks. So I guess once a certain action is called, perhaps the menu. No, nobody has a clue. Pre-init, load. When is that called? When the plugin loads. Okay. So I guess anytime. Okay, let's just register on init then. That's fine. I'm okay with that. Blocks. Obviously, this depends on Gutenberg actually being active. If Gutenberg is not active and we just start doing stuff, it will break. I guess what we can do. Start. What we can do, add action, plugins loaded. We can do a custom function right here and just see if we have, well, guess what? function exists, then initialize our class, otherwise don't do anything for now. And okay, cool. So if we have register block type, then we'll start our plugin. And now we want to call register block type toward the core recent posts. We can name that something else, obviously. And we have a render callback of our class and render recent posts block, for example. Then we'll just define that function, which they said it takes the attributes and based on those attributes we do some stuff. So we kind of have to repeat what we're doing here. So recent post would be equal to get posts, post type, attributes, post type, and number posts of 1. So if we don't have recent post, we'll just return a paragraph of there are no posts from the whatever post type, and in here we can just skip there are no posts, or just nothing found actually. And in here that's the point where they said it depends on the block offer. You can change what the front end looks like with the dynamic block. For example, in this case we can say if current user can, and then edit posts, for example. If the current user can edit posts, then we can return one thing. You know, there are no posts from the whatever post type. As printf. Here we can do escape HTML so that we can be proper escaping people, and just do attributes post type, and otherwise we can return nothing found, or we can just return nothing, and that's fine. With the idea here being that if you are a person that can actually edit the content of the site, you see a helpful message about why there's nothing showing up. Otherwise, you don't even know that there should be anything there. So it's, you know, it's up to you to define how it is. And the thing is, you can even have, if it's going to be a common occurrence that there will be no posts with the given criteria, you can let the user editor leave a message that's appropriate for them. So for example, if your block is supposed to display information from the last few days, and it's going to be reasonably often there will be no information, you can let the editor of the posts leave a custom message. So maybe they can say, hey, we don't have any posts, any recent posts, please check back in later, or something like that. Point is, you can customize that and act accordingly. Otherwise, if we do have a recent post, then we are going to just return whatever we want to return. And in our case, that is most recent post with the title. Get the title of recent post 0 ID. Just like that. And so now, in theory, when we reload, we should see, ta-da, our block now actually renders content. Except for it renders without anything. Okay. I guess here, do we need to escape HTML? Not 100% sure. I don't think so. Let's try. So we'll try to do some hacking here. And see if that's gonna break. Oop, it does break. Huh. Now that's interesting. Okay. What about a dash? So we would want this to show up, but not our break tag, I would think. But if we escape HTML, this thing, it will. Oh, okay, sweet. So it keeps our dash, but it gets rid of that. Cool. Okay, so that's how we can escape that stuff. Sweet. Okay, well, here's our block. Cool stuff. Shows it on the back end, shows it on the front end. And from here on, you can take it further. Let me just add. Okay, so we already have a paragraph here. Yeah, from here you can take it further. You can add more stuff than this. You can add pretty much anything that is into the REST API. If you haven't used the REST API, there's a couple ways you can explore it. Probably the easiest is just to go to your site, then go to, let me check real here, JSON, and from here also maybe use a cool extension that does this stuff. Otherwise you will see it not like that. So this, when it sees JSON formatted stuff on the page, it will just automatically format it. Anyway, the point is, if you haven't explored it, in your site /tab-op JSON, you can see all of the different routes that exist in WordPress. And so in this case, we can take a look at the tab-op version 2 posts. And this basically gives us information about what we can pass to the API. So we can say how many we want per page, and it gives us information with the description. It's very similar to the query parameters that we use with tab-op query, but they're slightly adjusted. Some of them are not exactly the same. For example, this is posts per page. With tab-op query here, it's just per page. In tab-op query we have just S, and here we have search. So yeah, just go here, take a look, and yeah, you can use these parameters to add them to your blocks, to the settings of your blocks. And we just create this information right here, this UI, with the inspector controls, and you can add anything you want in there, really. Cool, sweet. Oh, look how this renders. Huh, interesting. Yeah, that's about it. I guess we'll stop here today, maybe. And I'll have to think of what we're going to do next time. I guess maybe next time I'll prepare a little better to actually show a conversion of a block, actual conversion of a Beaver builder block to a Gutenberg block, because I kind of failed at this today. But yeah, for next time I'll actually prepare and ahead of time and get the code for the Beaver Builder module exactly as it is. And get all the post types ready, all the information that we need, and stuff like that. And then just see about converting it, including the styles and everything else like that. Because there was information over here on how to apply styles from a style sheet. So styles, yeah. So I think we'll take a look at this. Yeah, so we'll take a look at this about how we can style our blocks in the Gutenberg editor, and so that it can show a more realistic preview. And we'll also take a look at actually converting a Beaver Builder module into a block. And just to recap today, what we managed to accomplish, despite what was on the agenda, was to just create a dynamic block which gets the most recent post or page and just displays its title. I know, very simple, very plain, but we learned how to use I got lost a little bit. We learned how to use the higher order component with API data, which makes it very easy for us to pull any data from the REST API without doing a whole lot of work. If you haven't used the REST API, it's not that difficult, but I've used it before and it's definitely more work than just doing this. Like, this is super simplified, and I love it. It's great. Yeah, again, they're doing a very good job of making things that used to take maybe, you know, between 10 and 20 lines of code, you can now do in like 3 or 4, and they're simplifying things, and I think that's great. So yeah, we learned how to use the with API data higher order component to make it easy for us to access information from the REST API, and we saw how we can check if our data has loaded and how we can display stuff from within from the REST API data. And we also saw how we can make the URL for the REST API data dynamic by passing some of our attributes into the REST API URLs. And we also saw how we can render the blocks with PHP. Again, we learned that it's somewhat similar to shortcodes, very similar to shortcodes, but yeah, it just has a nice UI. I'm simplifying. Don't quote me on this. I'm oversimplifying, and it's not like that. But yeah, cool. I guess that's about it. Thanks for watching, whoever was watching, and see you in 1 week and a little bit. Well, a little bit under 1 week. Yeah, so tune in. Next year we'll be back with an actual Beaver Builder module conversion. I hope you're using Beaver Builder, or you've used Beaver Builder, so it will be useful for you. Yeah, have a very good New Year party or whatever you're doing, and I hope next year brings you lots of good things in personal and professional aspects of your life. Anyway, thank you for being here, and see you next time.